Hi, Lucy here. Today I wanted to talk to you about how I do actuals. So I've had lots of people ask me about how I would incorporate actuals into models, so I thought I'd put a little video together to show you how I do it. So first of all, what are actuals? Actuals are where you take your forecast and you switch that out for what's actually happened. So whether that's on a monthly or a quarterly basis, what you'll do is you'll overwrite what was in your forecast with what's actually happened, so the actual bank transactions that have happened in terms of the rent that you've received, the costs that you've paid, the construction costs, the whatever it is, you take them out and put them on top of your forecasts, and you then do a reconciliation to make sure that you've accounted for any timing of payments. So it's a really useful exercise to be doing as you're holding your asset, because it enables you to be able to more accurately track your cash and your cash forecasts. It also gives you the ability to be able to track your covenants for your debt a lot more easily, and be able to track things like your potential profits, your promote payments, because you're tracking it throughout the whole investment hold. So how I normally do it is I have a separate tab that looks exactly like my cash flow that I overwrite on. So if you look in my model here, you'll see I've got my cash flow. So this is my forecast cash flow. You can see at the top here, it says forecast all along here. And you can see we've got my income, my service charge costs, my ground rent, letting fees, etc. All of my cash flow items in there. I then have this hardcode tab. And in this hardcode tab, what I can do is I can put actual numbers in here. So for example, if I wanted to say that I was having to pay a little bit of extra purchase price at a later date as a sort of overage payment, and I wanted to put in 200,000 into there, I would type that in here, and if I go back to my quarterly cash flow, you'll then see I've done it as a positive rather than negative, but that doesn't really matter. You can see that that has now appeared. And so without having to put hard codes into my actual cash flow, I have been able to put in an actual figure. So what I then do is I can then go into my main inputs page and I can change the actuals date. So if you see here, I can select December 20, and what will happen is everything prior to that date turns blank and picks up only from the hard code page. And the way I do that is by having this actuals flag up here. So you can see it's 111 where we've got our actuals pulling through, and 0 where we've got our forecast pulling through. So now everything that's a forecast is being automatically calculated. Anything that's a hard code or an actual is being pulled through from that hard code tab. So either on this tab, I can have a separate spreadsheet somewhere or a separate file where I'm tracking each of these line items, and I can just come along and copy and paste them in here, or I can actually put my bank transactions in here and automatically code them into here. It sort of depends on how big you want your model to be and how many transactions you have. If you have lots of transactions, then you might want to do it separately, or you can pull it out from your banking system like Xero or whatever else like that, and then just consolidate it in here. Or if you've not got that many transactions and your model's not too big, then you can actually do that calculation in here by just pulling out those bank transactions. What you need to do once you've done that is you then need to make sure you're reconciling. So there are two really important bits to reconcile. The first is your bottom line. So you want to make sure that whatever comes out of the bottom here matches the actual equity movement for that period. So if you've put money in, you want to make sure that you've said that you've put money in. If you've taken money out, you want to make sure you've taken money out. And that's just from your bank accounts, because what you'll do is you'll make sure that any movements within your bank accounts are picked up in your working capital line. The other thing you need to reconcile is actually this whole column. So I will often add another tab with a reconciliation, or I'll have the two models open, the one before I did the actuals and the one after I did the actuals. And what I'll do is I'll just go through line by line and make sure I'm happy with what's happened. So for example, I'll check, have I actually received the amount of rental income that I was expecting? If the answer is yes, pretty much within a few pounds, then I don't need to do anything. If the answer is no, because a tenant has paid late and so it's come in after the quarter end or after the month end, then what I'll need to do is make sure that I hard code that number into the March quarter, because I know that I've received that rent. I just received it a couple of days late, and so it's falling into March rather than into December. And that's how you go through and make sure that everything matches what you're expecting it to. It's really important that you do that reconciliation point both at the bottom and along the side, because if you want to be able to properly track your cash, then it's really important that you're accounting for the timing of those revenues or costs as they come and go. So that's it. That's how I would do actuals. So if you guys want to learn how to do actuals or do anything else that you can see in this model, then I would love to invite you to join the EIP Academy. You'll find the link with this video.